There's a quiet power in men who don't chase. You've seen them, maybe at a party, at work, or even online. They're not loud, they're not trying hard. But somehow, they get all the attention. Meanwhile, some men try everything, texting often, complimenting constantly, going out of their way to please, and still end up getting ghosted. Why does it work that way? Why is it that the harder some men try, the faster women seem to pull away? It's not luck. It's not just about good looks or money either. It's a mindset. Women are drawn, instinctively, to a certain kind of presence, a certain way of thinking. And the truth is, most men were never taught this. Most were raised to believe that more effort equals more success. But in relationships, especially with modern women, that formula doesn't always work. In this video, we're going to break down 5 powerful Machiavellian rules of attraction, not in a manipulative, cold-hearted way, but in a strategic, deeply aware, and self-respecting way. These rules flip the entire dating dynamic, so instead of chasing, you become the man women think about, wonder about, and work to win over. This isn't about playing games or learning pickup tricks. It's about becoming a man who knows his worth and shows it without needing to say a word. Let's dive into the first rule. Rule 1. Build your value. Let her chase. Here's the first hard truth. Most men are taught to pursue, to constantly text, to always be available, to flood her inbox with compliments and affection, hoping it'll make her feel something. But here's what happens. That constant attention, it starts to feel like noise. Not because you're not a good guy, but because you're too available. And anything that's too available, it loses value fast. Imagine 2 men are interested in the same woman. One is always texting, always calling, always dropping everything to see her. The other? He shows interest, sure, but he's not glued to his phone. He has a life. He's grounded. He's warm when they're together, but he's not chasing. Now, think. Who will she be more curious about? It's almost always the second man. The first one signals that he's got nothing better going on, that his world revolves around her from day one. And while that may seem sweet or romantic, it screams neediness. And neediness is the fastest way to kill attraction. But the second man creates a sense of mystery, a sense of value, because he's not throwing his time and energy around like it's free. He's selective, and that selectiveness makes him stand out. We value what we have to earn, always have, always will. So when your time, your energy, and your presence aren't just handed out without thought, when they're earned, they suddenly carry weight. This doesn't mean you become distant or cold. It means you match her investment. You don't reply in 5 seconds if she takes 3 hours. Not out of pettiness, but out of balance. It means when she pulls back, you give her space. And when she leans in, you're present. It's not about withholding love. It's about not giving love away to someone who hasn't earned it yet. The moment you stop chasing, she starts wondering, why isn't he texting me like the others? What's he doing right now? Did I say something wrong? Or is he just different? That curiosity is a powerful force. And that shift, from her being the one pursued to her becoming the one doing the pursuing, is the beginning of real attraction. When she has to earn your attention, it means something. It sticks. She doesn't take it for granted. That's why this rule is so vital. Let her wonder. Let her chase. Be present when you're together, but be scarce when you're apart. Your value increases in your absence more than in your constant presence. Now, once you've stopped chasing, what's next? That brings us to Rule 2. Keep some secrets. Stay mysterious. Have you ever met someone who just tells you everything? Their job, their childhood, their exes, their goals, their fears, all laid out in the first few hours. By the end of it, you know their entire life story. And strangely, you're kind of over it. That's because mystery matters. Especially early on. When there's nothing left to discover, there's no reason to keep exploring. Attraction thrives on curiosity, on wonder what's behind that next door, on the tension of not knowing everything. Now, this doesn't mean you become emotionally unavailable or refuse to answer questions. It means you don't spill your soul the first time you sit down for coffee. Let her discover you like chapters in a good book, a little at a time. Share something interesting. But don't unload your whole biography. If she asks what you're passionate about, don't give a lecture, give a glimpse, then ask her something. Show curiosity in return. Let the conversation breathe, and let her feel the desire to keep learning more about you over time. Machiavellian wisdom says, never reveal all your intentions. And that's not just for politics, it's for romance too. Don't make your entire emotional world accessible at once. Not because you're hiding, but because you respect pacing. Each new detail she learns about you should feel like a little treasure, a peek behind the curtain, something that keeps her intrigued. Want to take it a step further? Be a little unpredictable. Plan a surprise outing. Take a weekend to focus on your craft or your friends without explaining every detail. Let her miss you. Let her wonder. You don't need to broadcast your every move on social media. You don't need to text good morning and good night like a clock. Let silence do some of the talking. Mystery doesn't mean being a ghost. It means being complete. It means having depth. It means you're a man with layers, and not all of them are revealed at once. That's magnetic. So remember this. When a woman feels like there's always something more to discover, she sticks around. When does she feel like she's already figured you out? She starts drifting. Be the kind of man she can't stop thinking about. Not because you said everything, but because you didn't. Stay mysterious. And coming up next, Rule 3. Stay calm. Stay in control. You've probably heard it before. Emotional stability is key to attraction. But how many men live it? When things get tense, it's easy to get rattled. Maybe she doesn't reply as quickly as you'd like. Maybe she cancels plans at the last minute. Or maybe she does something playful that feels like a little tease. Now, what do most men do? They panic. They react. They flood her with messages. They get angry. They push. They try to fix things, often making it worse. Here's the truth. When you can't control your emotions, it makes you look fragile. And fragility? It doesn't inspire attraction. It signals insecurity. And that's the last thing a woman wants to feel. Think about it. How many times have you seen a guy spiral because a woman doesn't answer his text right away? He starts sending follow-up messages, double texting, and getting more and more desperate. And then, when she finally replies, he apologizes for being so needy, but the damage is already done. The emotional instability has turned him into someone she doesn't respect, or worse, someone she feels she has to handle. But here's the Machiavellian wisdom you need to adopt. A leader stays calm, calculated, and composed, especially when things don't go as planned. In dating, that same principle applies. When she teases you, you don't bite back with anger or defensiveness. You laugh it off. You tease her back. You stay light. You stay confident. If she cancels plans, you don't send her a flood of texts demanding answers. Instead, you say no problem and move on. You stay busy. You stay in control. That's the key. Emotional mastery. And it's more important than you realize. Women, test your emotional strength all the time. Maybe it's not conscious on their part, but they'll push boundaries. They might take longer to reply to see how you react. They might cancel plans at the last minute just to see if you'll lose your cool. An insecure man might send her a barrage of messages or sulk. An emotionally strong man? He stays calm, centered, and unaffected. He doesn't let his emotional state hinge on her behavior. The secret here is self-control. Now, this doesn't mean you suppress your feelings or never express emotion. It means you manage them. You don't let your emotions control you. You decide how to respond, not react. You've probably heard that calm is contagious. It's true. When you stay composed, even when she tests you, it sends a message that you're solid. You're not shaken. You're not fragile. You're someone who knows who he is and what he wants. And that's incredibly attractive. So, how do you build this emotional mastery? Start by building habits that keep you grounded. When you feel anxious, take a breath before you respond. When jealousy or anger rises, take a step back. Don't text in the heat of the moment. Wait. Let your emotions settle before you speak or act. Over time, you'll build a sense of emotional discipline that becomes second nature. And women? They'll notice. They'll see that you're the man who stays calm when life gets tough. You're the one who doesn't lose his head over little things. You're the one who stands strong in the storm. And that's what makes you magnetic. When you stay grounded, you invite her to join you in your world, not the other way around. You aren't scrambling for validation. You aren't at her mercy. You're already whole. And that kind of calm, unshakable confidence? It's rare. And it's irresistible. Rule 4. Know your limits. Expect respect. Being nice is a great quality. It's something that will always serve you well in life. But being too nice, that can backfire in relationships, especially when it means tolerating disrespect. Here's the deal. If you let her walk all over you, if you tolerate behavior that doesn't align with your standards, if you keep letting things slide just to avoid conflict, you're telling her something. You're telling her that you don't respect yourself. And guess what? She won't respect you either. Machiavelli taught that a leader who can't command respect will lose his kingdom. In dating, that means if you don't stand up for your values, you'll lose her attraction. It might seem like small things at first. She cancels plans at the last minute. She flirts with other guys when she's around you. Maybe she even mocks you, teases you in ways that feel disrespectful. And instead of standing your ground, you laugh it off. You brush it under the rug. What happens? She doesn't think, wow, what a nice guy. She thinks, he doesn't respect himself. Respect isn't just given, it's earned. And if you don't demand respect from the beginning, you'll end up being the one who's disrespected. And worse, it will keep escalating until you're the one getting walked over, time and time again. So, how do you fix this? You start by setting clear boundaries. You let her know what you will and won't tolerate, and you enforce those boundaries with calm confidence. Let's say she teases you in a way that feels mean. Instead of laughing it off and pretending it doesn't bother you, you calmly tell her that it's not okay. You don't yell, you don't get defensive, but you do speak up. You show her that you value yourself enough to set limits. If she cancels plans without a valid reason, you don't rearrange your schedule and make yourself available again immediately. You politely but firmly let her know that your time is valuable and that inconsistency won't work for you. But here's the key. You have to mean it. If you set a boundary and then let it slide later, you lose all credibility. You'll just be seen as someone who doesn't stand for anything. Boundaries don't mean being controlling or harsh. They mean knowing what you deserve and sticking to it. It's about respecting yourself enough to walk away if necessary, rather than tolerating poor treatment. A confident woman doesn't want a man who lets her walk all over him. She wants someone who has self-respect, someone who stands firm in his values. And the truth is, most women will test your boundaries early on, often without even realizing it. They'll try to see how much you'll tolerate. They'll test your limits. When do you stand your ground? That's when you earn respect. Now, you may feel that it's risky to set boundaries, especially if you like her. But in reality, it's that very risk that makes you stand out. You're not desperate. You're not clingy. You're a man who knows his worth, and you expect to be treated accordingly. If you show her that you value yourself enough to walk away rather than compromise your standards, you instantly become someone she respects, and, believe it or not, someone she's more likely to chase. Rule 5. Preserve your freedom. Stay sovereign. A sovereign man lives life on his terms. He's kind, he's caring, but he's never going to drop everything just because someone texts him. Here's the thing. When you make your whole world revolve around someone else, you lose yourself. You become too available, too dependent, too easy to manipulate. That's not the way to build attraction. Instead, stay rooted in your mission, your purpose, and your goals. When you're focused on what you are building, whether it's your career, your fitness, or your passions, she can't help but notice. She sees that you're a man who's living for something bigger than just her. And that's magnetic. You don't drop everything to see her when she texts you. You don't rearrange your day because she wants your attention. You stay focused. You're disciplined. And that discipline, it radiates strength. It doesn't mean you don't care about her. It means you have a full, balanced life that doesn't hinge on her. When you're a man who's focused on his growth, whether it's building a business, hitting the gym, or pursuing your dreams, you become the kind of man that's impossible to ignore. And guess what? That's what makes you stand out. When you have a life that you're proud of, a life that you're building, it makes you rare. And rarity? It's incredibly attractive. When you hold on to your purpose, she sees that you're a man who can't be swayed. You're not desperate for love. You're already whole. You're already grounded. And that sovereignty? It's what makes women truly desire you. So let's bring it all together. When you stop chasing, keep some mystery, master your emotions, set firm boundaries, and stay sovereign, you become a man who's not just attractive, but unforgettable. You stop living for approval. You stop performing. And you start moving through life with quiet, unshakable confidence. And here's the beauty of it. None of this means you have to become cold, fake, or manipulative. These Machiavellian rules are quite the opposite. They're not about tricking women into liking you. They're about becoming a man who naturally draws people in, because he knows who he is. Let's go deeper. You're no longer trying to be chosen. You're not waiting for someone to validate you. You're doing the choosing. You're living a life filled with purpose, discipline, and direction. So when you do choose someone to share it with, it carries weight. That's the kind of man women can't ignore. Think about the kind of men that dominate the screen. The James Bonds, the John Wicks, even the quiet leaders in real life. What do they all have in common? They're grounded. They're in control. They reveal themselves slowly. They're not emotionally fragile. And they never beg. You don't need a Hollywood script to embody that. You just need to start acting like a man who values himself. Let's revisit those 5 rules with fresh eyes, because by now, they should feel like a part of you. 1. Stop chasing. Become the prize. You're no longer pouring your energy into someone who hasn't shown equal effort. You're no longer texting just to fill the silence or showing up at her doorstep when she barely acknowledges you. You understand that scarcity creates value. Your time matters. Your presence matters. And the more selective you are, the more magnetic you become. You don't play hard to get. You are hard to get. Because you're busy living a life that fulfills you. 2. Stay mysterious. Let curiosity work for you. You don't spill your entire life story in one sitting. You let people get to know you over time. You share what's real, but not everything at once. You make her wonder. You leave space for her imagination. And that space becomes powerful. Remember, when someone thinks they've seen all of you, their curiosity dies. But when there's always more to uncover, the connection deepens, the tension builds, and attraction grows. 3. Master your emotions. Stay grounded no matter what. You're no longer reactive. You're no longer ruled by fear, anxiety, or neediness. You don't lash out when plans change. You don't chase answers when someone ghosts. You stay composed. You stay centered, and that makes you incredibly attractive. Because let's be honest, in a chaotic world, calm men are rare. When she sees that you don't lose your cool, that you can ride life's waves without getting pulled under, she'll trust you, she'll respect you, and most importantly, she'll feel safe with you. 4. Set boundaries. Demand respect without saying a word. Kindness without boundaries is weakness. You've learned that lesson. So now, when someone crosses a line, you don't let it slide. You address it, calmly, directly, without anger, but with certainty. You're not looking to control others. You're just making it clear that you won't be controlled. When a woman sees that you have standards, and that you're willing to walk away rather than compromise them, she takes notice. She knows you're not like every other guy bending over backward just to keep her happy. You're a man with dignity, and dignity is deeply attractive. 5. Stay sovereign. Keep your power. You've stopped revolving your life around someone else. You're no longer waiting around, hoping to be invited in. You've built a life worth living, with or without her. And that energy, that self-possession, it draws people in like gravity. Because you're not needy. You're not chasing validation. You're grounded in your mission. You're disciplined in your time. And when you do invite someone into your world, they feel lucky to be there. This is what Machiavelli understood. True power doesn't come from force. It comes from control, self-control, emotional control, direction, discipline. And when you embody that, you shift from the man who begs for love to the man who commands it. Women don't fall for charm alone. They stay for sovereignty. When you respect yourself, when you lead with quiet confidence, when your world doesn't collapse without her. That's what keeps her hooked. That's what keeps her invested. Not because she has to, but because she wants to. So ask yourself this: are you living for someone else's attention, or are you living for something greater? Because the moment you start walking your path with confidence and clarity, everything changes. The right woman won't run away from your strength. They'll be drawn to it. They'll feel safe in your presence, challenged by your depth, and inspired by your discipline. And the best part? You won't need to chase anyone. You'll simply attract, because attraction, real attraction, doesn't come from trying harder. It comes from being better, from becoming the kind of man who knows his worth, protects his peace, and never compromises on his purpose. So if you've ever felt like you were doing everything right and still getting nowhere, try doing less. Try standing still. Try choosing yourself first. Try valuing your time, your emotions, and your path. Because when you do, you become the man she doesn't just like. You become the man she respects, fears losing, and wants to understand. And that's the difference. You don't just leave an impression, you leave a mark. So stay grounded, stay disciplined, stay sovereign, and let love come to you on your terms. You are the prize. Now start acting like it. And if this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe for more insights on self-mastery, attraction, and inner strength. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.